Welcome back, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I hope after the lunch break, you will have restored enough energy for the upcoming sections in the afternoon. For this afternoon, there will be a moderated sections under the topic ASEAN Renewable Energy Corporations by Mr. Rio John Peter Siltonga, research analyst of ACE. Similar to the second sections in the morning, different distinguished guest speakers will give their presentations and have panel discussions. Mr. Rio, the floor is yours now.
All right, thank you, Ms. Giang, for the nice introduction. All right, good afternoon, Excellencies, honorables, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. And also, I would like to greet our online participants. Hopefully, everyone can hear our voice clearly. Welcome back to the third session of ASEAN Renewable Energy Corporations. This is the dissemination workshop for solar PV studies and implementation in ASEAN. As introduced by Ms. Giang, I'm Rio John Peter Silitonga from the ASEAN Center for Energy. It's a great honor for me to moderate these sessions together with our different distinguished speakers here today. I think that this will be interesting as we see our speakers coming from various backgrounds, including industries, business players, and also government. Also, I see from research institute as well in the sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, we have all aware that ASEAN has encouraged cooperation on renewable energy under the APAEC Phase II by setting a target of 20% of RE shares in total supply and 35% in installed capacity. So I think this will be kind of looking forward to have insights and perspective from our research speaker here to see how actually ASEAN and ASEAN member states should enhance collaborations to support more cooperation on RE, especially for PV. We have several speakers here. The first speaker will be Mr. Imade Sandika to share with us Indonesia perspective of solar PV manufacturing. And the second, we will get insight from China exemplary solar PV portfolio, lesson learned for ASEAN. And also we will have renewable energy role in ASEAN pro-grid development. Will be presenting by our representative from Papua, Mr. Muhammad Dwi Pamadi, and also solar PV integration for Indonesia energy accessibility by Ibu or Mistri Mumpuni. So I'm looking forward to turn to our first speakers here. Mr. Imade Sandika Dwi Antara, Director of Marketing and Business Development PT Suryadi Energy Indotama, subsidiary of PTLN Industry. So Pak Imade will be sharing with us insight on Indonesia solar PV manufacturing vision to support ASEAN energy. I think this will be 15 minutes, and I will be looking forward to ask maybe to deep dive the perspective of Pak Madi, especially ASEAN Energy Corporation, how actually ASEAN should push forward cooperation in order to create demand, in order to support the industrial sectors on PV manufacture. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Imade Sandika. Please, the time is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The honorables, all participants that in this room and also in online. I would like to present about our topic today. Before that, my name is Made Sandika Dwiantara. It's hard to say Imade, right? Made, you can call me Made. Made Sandika. I'm Director of Marketing and Business Development of PT Surya Energi Indotama, SEI. SEI is subsidiaries of PT Land Industry Persero, one of state-owned enterprise in Indonesia. Next, please. Next, please. I would like to introduce first about my company. This is about SEI. SEI was established on December 6, 2007 and was taken over as a subsidiary of PT Land Industry on January 14, 2009. PT Surya Energy Indotama is trusted pioneer of new renewable energy companies, especially solar energy in Indonesia. We are 90% owned by PT LAN and 10% is owned by PT Eltran Indonesia, which is PT Eltran Indonesia is one of subsidiaries of PT LAN also. We already installed totally more than 50 megawatt from Sabang to Merauke, consists of power tower BTS blank spot, off-grid system, PV application for street lighting, on-grid PV system, hybrid PV system, and another application PV. Next, please. This is our portfolio project. You can see we install in rooftop, ground mounted, and also our client also private sector, PLN also, and then industrial, governments, and also Pertamina. Pertamina is very care about the safety, so that's why I mentioned green solar energy station that install for PV in gas station they have. Next. Next, please. Okay, this is our product system and service capability. We can deliver for the product system off-grid and on-grid, also hybrid for solar power plant, solar tree and solar street lighting, power and tower system, and also solar rooftop for residential and industrial. And also the others can you see in the slide. And then service capability, we can do design, engineering, system integrator, procurement, manufacture, construction, installation, testing, commissioning, training, operation, maintenance, and also power and energy investment. Next, please. This is what happened with SEI. SEI start from start from EPC 2009. After that, we add our capabilities for investment business model, start from 2016. And then we also put our capabilities in retail business model with the name LAN Solar, because we are subsidiaries of PT LAN, start from 2018. And also as a developer and manufacturer, we start in 2021. So on, I think I hope we can support for everything that our customers needed. Next. Okay, this is our main topic, solar PV manufacture. Next. Yes, I can explain about the milestone solar PV manufacture. This is from my company side, because PT LAN right now is the leader of the Association of Manufacturer in Indonesia. We call APAMSI, Asosiasi Pabrikan Modul Surya Indonesia. We are pioneer solar PV manufacturer in Indonesia. Why? Because we start to build the first solar module factory start from 1997. You can see in the screen. Because in 1998, the government assignment us to do the project solar home system. That's why we do build the first solar module in 1997. And then start from the capacity 1.2 megawatt, and then we increase the capacity production, become 3 mega in 1998, and become 10 mega per year in 2009. And then to increase the production capacity and also to support our business, because we are have some PPA with PLN. One of PPA commercial operating date on 2016 in Kupang, 5 megawatt. So this is very helpful to support and provide the PV module by local. And then we do modernization production facility with semi-automatic in 2017. And 2018, we do the certification of PV module because we are trying to export the module, not only supply for local. So that's why the requirement of IEC, blah, 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 61215 and etc. should be complied that worldwide needed. So now, 2023, the manufacturing from the PT Land, it will be spin-off production facility to PT Surya Energy Indotama. That's why, sorry, PT Land cannot come to here because now we should be as a main player as a manufacturer in Indonesia. Next. This is little bit our facility and production process. Maybe you can play the video. Experience more than 20 years, soldering operation certified by BNSP, automatic soldering, equipped by tracking production system, and also international certified, PV certification, factory comply with TUV requirement. This is very important in industry of panel module. Our capacity right now still 71 megawatt per year. This is already semi-automatic. For local module, right now, we only supply for the government and state-owned enterprise, for your information, because for the commercial and industrial sector, they don't need for the local content. So now, like what the moderator said, we need support for the stakeholder to support the local production. To implement the TKDN not only for the government and state-owned enterprise only, but also for the commercial and industrial sector, and also for the residential as well. I think this is make our productivity become higher than now. Yeah, okay. Maybe you can see for the detail for tomorrow. I think the video we can skip. Next. Milestone solar PV manufacturing. This is I can tell you about the processing to make a solar PV manufacturer. This is because we start from pasir kuarsa sand, silica. I think this is very enough in Indonesia. Maybe you know Bangka, Belitung, our province in west in in Sumatra is very good for production of quartz and silica. But in fact, pasir quartz and silica right now in Indonesia export to China. After that, we import for the solar cell. So after solar cell coming to us, we assembly become a module solar module. That's we do now for the local manufacturing. So I think why that happened because this issue, sustainability market in Indonesia, scale of economic, because large scale investment up to 244 million USD. So I think this is very big, but I trust if this coming also from ASEAN, support from ASEAN and regulation also from PLN support for the module for the solar power plant, I think it become it will be happen. Now we have 12 manufacturing local manufacturing in Indonesia. You can see from land, Adia Solar, SUP, Wika, Sankenindo, Solar Quest, Icha Solar. This is our friend also. We can produce per year 581 megawatt per year, but occupation of the supply now per year is only maybe it's only 30%, you know, because the condition what I say, we only support for government and state-owned enterprise project only. For the commercial and industrial, we don't have more competitive price to make our customer happy. So that's why right now we cannot increase our production. So after we have solar module, we doing solar system. What we call solar system? Solar system something like system solar lightning system like a PJU, you know, solar streets lightning, and then cold storage with PV module. With cold storage with solar power plant, and also BTS, base transceiver station with solar power plant. This is we call solar system. EPC, local EPC company experience under 20 megawatt project per year. And then developer, this is one of business model right now. Because why? Because I thought in lunchtime with the moderator, developer now become a good business model right now, because we can make a trust to our customer. They don't need to invest. We are invest for that. Then we can do sharing for the efficiency of the price of electricity. We do for rooftop. Sometimes this is interesting because we compete with startup company, and then we join with PLN, we call IPP, Independent Power Producer, some overseas development, already developed project in Indonesia. The highlight also from regulation, this is important I think for support manufacturing with the attractive condition, because now regulation, we have the good regulation now from the government, presidential regulation number 112, and also support from PLN to move from the coal power plant to new renewable energy power plant. And New Hope, net zero emission 2060, it means I hope all of stakeholders can support us become a good manufacturing. Not only support in Indonesia, we can support ASEAN and also globally. Thank you very much for your time. I bring back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Imade, for the insightful presentations. Yeah, we're happy to see how actually Surya energy in the Tama growing. Yeah, I mean, seeing the capacity you reach now, and also some project that is coming now. Hopefully, it also can create demand. I mean, as I mentioned in the opening, beginning of my sessions, just to get very brief regarding your perspective. So, you touched a little bit about ASEAN, what regarding the cooperation in ASEAN that are able to support manufacturers. So, what do you think ASEAN stakeholders need to specifically focus on energy cooperation, renewable energy corporations in order to support manufacture more specific on PV?
Yes, thank you. Now, I think in ASEAN country, they very consider about the renewable energy. I think Vietnam and also Philippines, Pak. So this is very important to us as a market. Now we move to reach that market from global to global market, because we cannot stay only waiting for the project in Indonesia. So I think now the commitment from the ASEAN, especially from Vietnam and also from Philippines, I think we're waiting more project for that, I think.
Thank you, Pak Imade, for your. I think you have very well taken note. Yeah, the market integration, how actually help manufacturers to expand the market and also the demand. Yeah, this is good to take a note for. I think will be a suggestions for ASEAN future renewable energy corporations. I will back to you, Pak, during the Q&A sessions for more questions. For now, let me turn to our honorable speakers. Mr. Gampeng, Business Head of Southern Asia Divisions, Chin New Energy Development Zhejiang Co. Limited. He will be presenting with us regarding China exemplary solar PV portfolio, lesson learned for ASEAN outline. I guess Mr. Gampeng, you can hear us very clearly there, and yeah, in your confidence, please start your presentations. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just a moment. I'm afraid my network is not so good. Let me just switch my Wi-Fi. Sorry, just. Okay. So, do you hear me?
Mr. Please proceed. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
please.
okay, thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. First of all, I'd like to extend my appreciation to ACE for inviting me to share our understanding about solar in China and our experience and expertise of Chint in China. So when I first get this topic, I was a little confused about whether there is a misspelling of the word China, because Chint is C-H-I-N-T and China is C-H-I-N-A. So because here in this seminar, I believe there are so many experts from the think tanks. So probably they have better point of view from academic level. So anyway, it's very good for me to communicate with each other for ASEAN solar industry. First of all, please give me 2 minutes to play a video about Chint. Thank you. Please. Yes, there is one video. Thank you. Thank you. So basically, this video shows our PV plus utilization and our automation production lines. So next slide, please. So this is a brief introduction about Chint Group at a glance. So our Chint Group was established in 1984 and is now a global leading solution provider of smart energy system. As of 2021, we have an annual consolidated sales of $16 billion, and we are listed as a top 50 list company in Asia, and we have total employees of 40,000 plus. Okay, next slide, please. So we have, this is our global footprint. Here we have production base in Hangzhou, Wenzhou, Shanghai, Jiaxing, Haining, Yancheng, Xianyang, etc. And our global factories in Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Egypt, Uganda, etc. And our logistics network in over 140 countries. Next slide, please. So this is our solar sector, Chint New Energy. Since 2006, Chint has engaged in solar industry. Currently, Chint has all major value chain of solar industry, such as silicon materials, wafer, cell, module, inverter, power plant investment and construction, operation and maintenance. So our module capacity is 18 gigawatt. Project investment and construction is now more than 8 gigawatt. Operation maintenance portfolio is more than 10 gigawatt. Our revenue is in 2021 is $2.8 billion. Next, please. So here I'd like to share my understanding about ASEAN countries. To begin with, I would like to share with some experience in China. Next, please. So this is the development stage in China. So it's based on the study by World Bank. There are 4 stages. Before 1994 is called the early years. 1995 to 2005 is the takeoff stage. And 2006 up to 2017, it's a stage from laggard to leader. And 2018 to present, it's called the way forward. And here I'd like to only talk about solar. You see, now in China, the solar installation exceeds 300 gigawatt installation capacity, which is #1 for consecutive years in the world. And if we talk about the success in China, then we have to find out what is doing right in China. Next, please. So here I only talk about quality from qualitative perspective instead of quantitative, because I think the think tank will have more data. Here I'd like to only talk about the main points based on our understanding. So while the experience is more like country specific, still some highlights may be shared for reference only. So in China, we have a very ever evolving policy framework and strong policy implementation capacity. And second is generous feed tariff and subsidies of various levels to encourage investment. And third is tax incentives and preferential loan support for poverty alleviation projects. And fourth is demonstration projects such as Top Runner program to encourage cost reduction and technological progress. And also we established Renewable Energy Hub in northwestern China to scale up with land supply and grid upgrade. Next, please. Oh, sorry, I cannot. Oh, yes. while we have some experience, we do also have some lessons learned in China. So due to the generous subsidy, there is overheating in this sector. So the government tried to curb the overheating and then abrupt policy change. But unfortunately, some market turmoil is caused. The subsidy too generous, and it's not so sustainable. And huge amount of subsidy is still pending, and the special fund is not enough to pay off all the pending amounts, and it's being solved. Third is inadequate grid infrastructure cause huge curtailment, especially in northwestern part of China, where the land supply and solar resources are abundant. Next, please. And here is our understanding about solar PV prospects in ASEAN countries. So in ASEAN region, there are 10 countries with a total land area of 4.49 million square kilometers and a population of 667 million as of 2021. And the nominal GDP adds up to more than $3 trillion US. But 85% of the primary energy is dominated by fossil fuels based on IRENA Outlook 2022. With the advantage of second mover, ASEAN countries can easily track proven business model and technology with abundant project reference in China and worldwide. Because in China, we sometimes talk about first mover advantage, but in this sector, second mover also we have advantage to take advantage of those experience and lessons. So in ASEAN countries, the natural endowment is pretty good. It's near the equator, and major area has GHI exceed 1,750 kilowatt hour per square meter. And fishery and agriculture is in many countries, it's a backbone in ASEAN countries, in many countries, not all. And the ambitious target, 23% of primary energy from renewable by 2025. And by 2021, it is only 14.3% based on IRENA Outlook 2022. And based on our understanding and also our project experience and expertise in ASEAN countries, we believe that the prospective utilization, we think four models are very practical. Number one is PV plus agriculture. Number two is PV plus aquaculture. Number three is solar PV plus battery energy solar system. Number four is rooftop. Next, please. So I'd like to share some case study of change in China. There are two projects I'd like to share. One is PV plus agriculture, and the other is PV plus aquaculture. Next, please. So usually this is the usual industry practice. Conventional, we have ground mounted and rooftop, which is commonly talked about a few years back. Now, in China and in Asian countries as well, we are talking about PV plus. Say PV plus architecture is BIPV, PV plus agriculture, like husbandry, like other sector, PV plus fisheries. Next, please. Here, this is two ground-based projects done by Chint. Next, please. And also here is one is desert and the other is hilly utilization scenario. Next, please. This is rooftop. One is the industrial public facility in railway station, and the other is residential houses. Next, please. And this is BIPV, which we have a few dozens of megawatts we already done in China, BIPV. Next, please. And here is PV plus paradigm. agri PV. I cannot see very clearly. Just I see my own screen. Just one. Okay. So in this scenario, solar. There are some highlights. Solar arrays with space in between for crops, elevated PV with crops, greenhouse solar arrays, and PV with animal husbandries. There are some considerations like the crop selection, the climate consideration, tilt angle, and solar irradiation, and height of the panels. Okay, next, please. So this is one of the selected project in agri-PV. It's 200 megawatt forestry, agriculture, and solar complementary PV project in Jiangshan, Zhejiang province. The capacity is 200 megawatt. The area is 1,050 acres. The investment is $307 million, and we achieved COD in 2015 November. Next, please. There are some highlights of this project. Oh, sorry, I cannot see the screen. Let me check my own. Yeah. The annual generation is 200,000 megawatt hour. It is capable to meet the residential electricity demand in Jiangshan City for 1 year. In 25 years, it can reduce carbon emission by 4.53 million tons. And in 25 years, it saves 1.63 million tons of standard coal. And by this utilization scenario, we reclamation and transform of wasteland into green. Next, please. So we can see some pictures before and after the utilization. So before, we can see the land is just barren, and after the project, it becomes very fertile for agriculture farming. Next, please. According to our experience, project reference, we have some experienced lesson to share. Number one is we have to balance between power generation and agriculture production. Number two is there will be some uncertainty may increase when market demand drops. Say in the beneath the solar panels, we may have some cash crops like banana, like kiwi fruit, maybe some other husbandry. But suppose there is some market change from the demand side, it means from economic point of view, the agriculture may be negatively affected, and ultimately it will affect the economic return of the project, because when we talk about the PV plus agriculture, the land classification is still agriculture. So you have to invest in the agriculture side, which will also be taken into the financial model of the investment. Number two is we have to be careful about selection of crops of light loving and shade loving. Number three is this from the governmental side. There must be some proper management of land classification to avoid land abuse, because in some cases, sponsors just manipulate about PV plus agriculture. Practically, it is only solar PV, but they just manipulate and tell stories about agriculture. So we have to be careful about the land classification. Next, please. Here, this is another example of Chint. It's PV plus fishery. There are two major selected projects. One is 550 megawatt coastal intertidal zone in Wenzhou, and the other is Cixi PV plus fishery 340 megawatt. Next, please. So let me give you some brief with you about this Cixi PV project. The project is located in the Cixi City and Hangzhou Bay estuary. It is the first utility-scale tidal land PV plant in China. Next, please. The original site is tidal flat in the sea, which is washed and eroded by waves all year round. And the altitude is only 1 to 2 meters. Next, please. There are some highlights about the construction and the installation I'd like to share. First is precise point positioning. So in the two ends are positioned with GPS and pinned by two buoyancy tank. And in between, there are 35 piling points. The second is the MM's installation. Materials are shipped by self-powered floaters, and MMS are installed by laborers in movable platform. And third is module installation. Wooden strips are fixed on top of pile heads for laborers to install upper rolls, and the floating platform are used to install lower rolls. And the fourth is onshore substation. Dam-proof design, convenient C&I and O&M, as well as optimum land utilization. Next, please. And the second fishery project I'd like to share is Wenzhou 550 megawatt. The project has a total capacity of 550 megawatt, and the whole system is constructed in the sea with PHC piles as long as 12 meters. It covers a total 500 hectares of tidal flat zone located in Longwan district of Wenzhou, China. This project introduces the idea of co-development of solar photovoltaics and aquaculture, which maximize the use of precious land resources, contributing extra value to the solar PV application. Next, I'd like to share one video. Next, this is a short video. Would you please click? It's about 1 minute, I think. No. This is a video, actually. Yes, just no. Next, yeah, this one. This one is a video. Just click the left bottom, bottom left. If it cannot play, then I'd better go next. Okay, so there are also some experience lessons for the PV plus fishery development. So the first is PV integration on balanced space at optimized point of fish and electricity production. Because when we talk about PV plus fishery, it is usually either floating project or elevated structure. In either case, we have to balance between the fish farming and the electricity production. If we are with the feasibility is not properly done about the impact to the fish farming, then this scenario, this utilization scenario is not properly done then. And the second is uncertainty may increase when market demand drops. This is similar to PV plus agriculture, because for fish farming, also we have to take into consideration about the investment cost. And second is the major equipment and material selection regarding anti-corrosion level, because in the water body, the moisture, and in the sea area, also some salinity, the corrosion to the structure, to PV panel, and other electric and electronic components is relatively higher than land-based projects. So we have to be careful about the selection. And the second is geotechnical survey and foundation treatment and dike protection. This is also very important before we implement it. Say, for example, if this geotechnical survey is not properly done, it may impact negatively about the installation and construction methodology. And the third is the social environmental. Special attention has to be given when solar system is deployed in areas of river passage and flood control. Just in May 2022, the related ministry in China just issued some guidance on the utilization of water body for solar PV purpose. So this has to be properly, the feasibility must be properly done, especially it doesn't matter if it's a floating or elevated structure, because as long as the system is deployed on the water phase surface or over the water body, definitely the water quality or the water current will be affected, which will be ultimately affect our social and environment. Next, please. Thank you. This is all of my presentation. And as the person responsible for this region in terms of solar project development, I'd like to say that we are also working very actively in ASEAN countries for project investment and construction. So in the future, we definitely have a lot of more chances to discuss on specific project. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ganpan, for insightful presentations. I think the presentations really bring appreciation to China as the #1 of PV install capacity, which is 30 gigawatt hour. And also thank you for the lesson learned from China and how actually China able to address some challenge on the policy, subsidy, and also grid infrastructures. And we also noted your how you actually map out the situation in ASEAN very briefly. That ASEAN actually has potential on the natural for PV development, also enabling improvements such as ambitious target actually has been on the ground, and also prospective utilizations, and also some prospective PV case study on the prospective sectors such as agriculture and fisheries. Thank you so much for that information. Yeah, I mean, and as I did for with the previous presenters, I like also to very briefly to get your perspective regarding the ASEAN-China cooperation, especially for PV development in the ASEAN. We noted that you actually able to map up some situation in ASEAN. Actually, what is more, specific cooperation between ASEAN and China in order to, in the future, to address specific barriers on the PV utilizations. We noted that the situations of PV development in ASEAN, Vietnam as the leading emerging countries with install capacity 7.5 kilowatt, but others ASEAN member states are still struggling on the PV development. So from ASEAN-China perspective, what do you think in the future? I mean, in addition to investment and also infrastructure cooperation in the future that you mentioned just now, is there any specific ASEAN-China cooperation should address for future collaboration? Yeah, please, Mr. Gampen.
Sorry, I didn't get the main point. You're talking about in which area should we work together, right? I didn't get the point.
Yes, would you please this area?
Okay, so as what you mentioned, basically in ASEAN country right now, I would like to say the leading country is Vietnam in terms of solar PV development. If we have further study about Vietnam policy making and industrial practice, we will find out that Vietnam is so similar to China, either policy making or project implementation. Let me share why. Say Vietnam is socialism and China is socialism. It doesn't matter. I mean, this socialism, it doesn't matter. But if we take a look at the policy making procedure, you will find that when the central government sets up one policy, and from the medium and fundamental level of government organization, the implementation, the commitment, the strength is very strong to attract the investors. And second is the project implementation capacity. These 2 points, I believe, it's inspirational for other ASEAN countries as well. So number one is the generous feed-in tariff program, which is very, very important for emerging market. If it is not profitable, I don't think investors are willing to come. And second is about the grid infrastructure. Vietnam also have a problem of curtailment, but they are working, they're responsive about this problem, and they are correcting it. So with these two issues, I believe in other countries may also can learn from Vietnam and China about the solar industry development. Thank you.
For the perspective, yeah. I think I'll get back to you during the question and answer session later.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to turn to our next speakers, Mr. Muhammad Ni Permadi, Assistant Analyst for Project Development, PT PLN Indonesia. I guess this is will be represented from Papua as well, to present with us regarding renewable energy role in ASEAN power grid development. Pak Muhadi Dewi Pramoji, please, the time is yours.
Mr. Yo, for the kind introduction, Your Excellency, honorable guests and speakers, and also participants who are joining online. My name is Muhammad Dipamuji. I'm from PT PLN Persero, and also I'm an active member of Papua Working Group 1 from Generation and Renewable Energy. So today my presentation will cover about the existing condition of the generation capacity and also the renewable energy shares in within the ASEAN region. So next slide, please. Before I start, so my presentation today will only based on the data from 2020. So you might have newer data available within your organization, but for this presentation, I prepare based on the 2020 baseline. So for the year 2020, we have seen a significant additional of installed power capacity within the ASEAN region, with Vietnam having the largest contribution with around 12,000 megawatts. And mostly of this installed capacity is coming from the solar. So in year 2020, I think we see a very promising achievement with additional of 11,700 megawatts of solar PV. So next slide, please. For Indonesia, the installed capacity up to 2020 is around 71,000 megawatts. Mostly this generation comes from the coal power plant, which takes up about 35,200 megawatts, and following by the gas-fired power plant and also hydro contributing as the largest RE contribution in the Indonesia electricity system. Next slide, please. And the second country with also the largest installed capacity in 2020 is Malaysia with 34,379 megawatts. Is similar to Indonesia. Malaysia is also very intensive in the coal power plant, and also similar to coal, Malaysia also produce the generation by gas, and the hydro is contributing as the largest renewable energy generation in Malaysia. Next slide, please. And for the next country I will be sharing about is the Philippines, with the total installed capacity up to 2020 is around 26,000 megawatts, and mostly it's generated from the firing of the coal, with 10,944 installed capacity. And in Philippines, the renewable energy comes, the largest contribution comes from the hydro, and also there's some generation also from the geothermal. Next slide. And for Singapore, the total installed capacity up to 2020 is around 12,500 megawatts. And in Singapore, the gas is taking mostly of the generations in the country, so it's with around 12,000 megawatts capacity, following by the solar as the only as the renewable energy sources, and also the bioenergy. And the next country is the Brunei Darussalam. Maybe Brunei Darussalam is the least, I mean, in terms of installed capacity within the ASEAN regions, with only 894 megawatts of installed capacity, and mostly of this generation is coming from the gas power plant and also from the oil. So there's, I think there's a very little amount of generation is coming from the renewable in the form of solar. Okay, next slide, please. So in total, in ASEAN regions, the total installed capacity up to 2020 is around 285,000 megawatts, and Indonesia is the largest contributor for this generation and installed capacity within the regions, following by Vietnam and Thailand, Malaysia, and the Philippines. So that's for the updates of existing condition of generations within ASEAN. And for the next slide, I will be sharing about the renewable energy contributions in power generation for the ASEAN region. So based on the group chart here from 2005 to 2020, there's actually a positive trend for the renewable energy shares within the ASEAN regions. So from 2019, we've seen 29.4% of shares of renewable energy, and in 2020 there's about 4% of increase in the renewable energy shares. So the trend is, I think it's in the upcoming years, it's still ongoing to increase. So we hope that the next target, short-term target, will in 2025, which is 35%, is very possible to be achieved. So now at the moment, up to 2020, the ASEAN regions about 33.5%. Okay. It's okay. Coming to the next slide. So it's very good news for the ASEAN regions. So because in 2020, about 82% of the additional capacity in 2020 was coming from renewable energy sources. So it's actually almost, if you can see, from 2019 to 2020 is almost double in terms of the capacity generated from renewable sources. So I think it's a very good news for the ASEAN region. So next slide, please. For the next slide, I will be talking specific for each country, which has a significant renewable energy shares within their national electricity system. So the first one with the most contributor to the energy shares is the Laos. So in Laos, there's around 83.4% of RE shares out of 12,000 megawatts of installed capacity in the region. So this renewable energy shares mostly is coming from the generation of hydropower plant. And the second country, which also have the next slide, please. Second country, which also have the very extensive program for renewable energy development, is Vietnam. Currently, in 2020, Vietnam renewable energy shares takes up about 55.8% of the total installed capacity in the country, with generations of renewable mostly coming from from hydro, about 20,000 megawatts, and also coming at second is the solar PV, so about 16,000 of megawatts. And also Vietnam also have some shares on the wind generations in the total installed capacity. Next slide, please. The next country also have similar shares like Vietnam is Cambodia, with RE shares about 54.8% out of the total installed capacity of 2,900 megawatts. So the RE shares is coming from the generation of hydro, about 1,300 megawatts, and the second RE contributors is coming from the solar PV. And next country was, which also almost reached half of the total shares of installed capacity, is also Myanmar. Myanmar having the 49.4% of RE share out of 6,800 megawatts total installed capacity. So this generation of RE is coming from mostly from the hydro power plant and also the solar. And the next country is Thailand. Also have a very intensive program for renewable energy. So the current situation for Thailand is the RE shares is about 30% out of the installed capacity of 49,000 megawatts. So the renewable energy shares is mostly coming from the generation of hydro, which takes up about 800 megawatts, and also the solar, about 2,800, and also a very significant amount of generation from wind and also bioenergy. I think wind generation in Thailand is one of the largest in ASEAN countries. So to summarize the RE shares in the next slide, sorry. To summarize the RE shares within the ASEAN regions. So in total, in average for the ASEAN is 33.5% for the year 2020. And I think, as mentioned earlier in the, on the ASEAN Energy Outlook presentations, we are looking at the target of 35% in the year 2025. And I think based on the presentation earlier, I think we're still in line for this plan in terms of the installed capacity. So okay, so I hope that together, I think within the ASEAN and also collaboration between countries, we will able to achieve this. Next slide, please. So talking about the short-term target that's mentioned earlier in year 2025, about more than 60% of the newly installed capacity will be coming from the renewables, about 60%. And if we projected this, it means that around 37.6% of share of RE will be happen in 2025. So we are actually above the target, which is 35%. And I think that based on the earlier presentation, the new data shows, the new study shows that this share will become 37.9, I guess, yeah, 37.9. So yep. So the study is keep the numbers is keep increasing. So we hope for a very promising achievement in the year 2025. And this is for the next slide, please. This is for the long-term target of the year 2020. Is about 10 years earlier than our Indonesia zero carbon emission in 2060. So this is based on the report from IRENA. So basically the projection of the renewable energy capacity is based on two scenarios. First one is the planned energy scenario, or the PES, which based on the approved policy and also the technology that available during this study. And also the scenario is also based on the second, the more ambitious scenario, which is the transforming energy scenario, or the TES, which based on the competitive low and zero carbon technologies available within the region. But what I want to say here, both scenarios shows that solar PV is actually will takes up most of the generations in the year 2050. So I think that as the member of the, PLN, of course, as the member of the electricity utilities, and also all the stakeholders, I think we need to prepare for this plan because we know that solar PV right now still have intermittency issues and also the storage for BESS. I think we need to update and also increase our capacity of the solar capacity. So I think the events today is a good start to accomplish this. Okay, next. I think that's all about my presentation. I think I hope that you get something insightful from this presentation. Thank you. I hand it back to moderator.
Thank you so much. Allow me to call you Pak Dwi. Thank you so much, Pak Dwi, for the to bring some updates on the table regarding the shares of RE in each ASEAN member state. We are happy to see some positive trends in each other countries on our research, and then looking forward to see more positive trends in the future on PV development. Allow me also to ask you a very big question, Pak Dwi. As I understand you coming from Papua working group, and also relevant to your topic on how actually grid rules for the PV development. Just to asking your perspective, actually how the integrations of in some layer of energy sources or grid in ASEAN able to increase the penetration of PV, especially in ASEAN in the future. Would you please, give some very brief perspective regarding how the role of integrated grid in ASEAN actually able to push strongly the PV utilizations?
Thank you for the questions. I think we are now actually in Papua is also studying the power integration projects within the ASEAN regions, with the pilot project being done for the Laos, PDR, Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. This is called the LTMS power integration project. So this actually for this project, all the the supply of electricity is coming from Laos. So Laos is the first country within this power integration project. So what Laos exported is what has been traded is actually coming from renewable sources. So it's a hydro. Now it's hydro. So but I think that because within this line, within this integration lines, we also have Thailand. We also have Vietnam. Vietnam maybe in the future, but we also have Malaysia, which has a very intensive development of the solar. So I think there will be some, promising, supply of from PV for this expansion of the project.
All right. Thank you, Pak Dwi. I'll back to you if time allows us later on the question and answer sessions. Thank you so much for your presentation. Now let me turn to our last but not the least speakers. Ms. Tri Mumpuni, Board of Governors of National Research and Innovations of Indonesia, BRIN, to share perspective on solar PV integrations for Indonesia energy accessibility. Bu Tri, yeah, please, time is yours.
Thank you, because this is just in the very late afternoon. I'm afraid everybody will going to sleep, So let me coming up to the front. Since everybody has already talked on what I called, something that the national or even in the region, but I just would like to share with you how actually we are trying to implement this sharing with you at the grassroots level or at the community level. And it's very important for us here, especially on a PV, is how we can bring as close as possible the technology to the local community so sustainability can be achieved. This is what the biggest issue that we have been having so far, that when you are trying to put this technology, make sure that this technology is really giving benefit for the local community. So, this is first, what we call about the empowerment. Empowerment 3 is the capability for us as a person or a group or a team that are implementing this to the local level. Maybe we all understand that local resources are everywhere. And the community level, we cannot see it very clearly. But these local resources can be a local contribution, because the local community has what we call it motivation, they have self-confidence, they also have a creativity, positive experience, self-evaluations and everything here. You see that this is how important we have to have a look at it. And when we are implementing the program, it's just like planting the tree. We have to make sure that, well, this is very, the program has to be a good orientation, have a realistic formulation so that they understand. And very important is also how the local capacity in terms of maybe cooperative or local institution has to be there. Because if you give it to many people, everybody owns it, nobody owns it. This is very difficult and jeopardizing the sustainability. That's why we have to make sure that it has to be a group of people, an organization at the village level who are going to maintain and operate the system. That's why this is also very important. And we have what we call it technical appropriateness, how the best technology, if we can explain and bring as close as to the local community capability. That's why capacity building play a very important role. Subsequent costs for sustainability. I remember every time we are implementing this, local community usually doesn't want to pay. Actually, the local community want to pay, but if you understand the local office, police local office, military local office, they say that, no, this is a grant, it's free. Excuse me? If you say it's a grant, then who is going to bear the cost of operation and maintenance? Who is going to pay the operator? This is very hard work, but we have to make sure that we can do that. After the subsequent cost for sustainability, then the last one is consideration of political structure. Why I say that? We have to make sure that based on the very long experiences, where is Pak Adi? Pak Adi from Ministry of, knew very well. If, you see, if we don't consider that local champion knows where to put in the right location, that will be not sustainable. Based on 2015 experiences working very closely with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, we went to several places that are not sustainable is because the winner of local, well, I call it Bupati here in Indonesia, but we call it like the district headman, would like and push that the location has to be in their place, which is actually according to the geographical situation, condition, we call it, it's not really the right place, and it's not a proper place to put this. And that's why we need a very strong local champion or local group who are fighting to make sure that this PV has to be in the right place to sustain its sustainability. Okay, well, we call this, everything that we are doing is, it has to have a political stability, favorable economical and social trends, good governance. Very clear, everybody understand that. Ecological soundness, good environmental conditions, and also another one very important is good governance. What is our contribution as an outsider? We have to make sure that we give an advice to the local community and the local region. We give a training, we give this technology as well as financial support. This is all we call it manure. Not really the only thing, because you see here, it has to be complementary and open and transparent. And we have to make sure that this local community understand very well, we call it well-dosed, time balanced, and continuously monitored. Even though you already put it like 5 years ago, you have to monitor every year whether some problem occurred or not. So you can mitigate before it's really become a really broken, because the cost will be very expensive. If you mitigate and you really talk to them and make sure that you evaluate and monitor, if things happen, very small things, then you can easily, quickly make a repairment. Okay, well, if you are succeeded this, you have what we call it personal empowerment, and this tree can grow well, it's structural empowerment. This is, I hope this is a, okay, well, I don't have to explain, this is very easy. I have to make sure that my time is enough. This is, you can have my presentation. This is, you know, in some other country. This one, well, this is very simple. How to use this? Well, this is also, okay, some people use this for cooking, and this is center, you know, concentrated mostly in a very rich country, they can have that. You know, I'm not going to talk about this. This is how the solar writing. We have many of these across ASEAN countries. I have a chance to be in the Philippines, from barangay to another barangay. We saw that's how very important is a very simple innovation will help them. I think this morning we just talking about perovskite. It's also, well, it's not new invention, but it's the cheapest one and it's affordable for the local community. Okay, this is for the big country, the rich country. Photovoltaic panel. I just want to show this, but I'm not going to. This is solar system off-grid with the solar home system. Centralized solar power plant. Okay, I'm so happy because Indonesia has two things now. One is this one, you know, but also in a big number. This is more sustainable. Why? Because we only hire a very professional engineer who understand very well. I saw in India, the centralized, it's already run for more than 30 years. But solar home system is very difficult due to the lack of capability for the local community to understand how the battery will work. Because we already mentioning many times, if you know the battery indicator is become orange or even red is dead, but when orange, stop. Wait until you know you have more power from the sun. But as long as the light's still on, the community doesn't care. So that's why solar home system in Indonesia is not a very successful one. Okay, this is the battery. And this is the on-grid solar rooftop. Last 5 years, solar rooftop become very interesting, and we call it the sexy trends because many houses now they have that. But we are, I think I have a film when IBK is putting solar rooftop in two places. One is in Muslim school, madrasah we call it, pesantren in Madura, and one in East Java. This is very important because introducing the system of solar PV, centralized and on-grid system, to the very young age of the students, so they understand. But the funny thing, but we already solved this, Mas yang dari PLN ya. When we install this in the pesantren, it's only like 30 something. When they need like 40 because you know they have many other activities, then we have to pay to PLN the rest of the 10 additional that we are taking from the grid. But when we only using 20, it means that we have 12 you know, going to the grid. Supposed to be PLN pay for the pesantren, but at that time PLN say like sodako, you know, they don't want to pay, and I said, well, you cannot do this, and it's for us it's a big fight. I'm so happy finally now PLN understand that you should help. The reason why we put in that school, because the school have 9,000 students who stay there, and they are very poor, and they have to pay like 3,000 US dollar a month, monthly payment to just pay the electricity. But when we install the solar rooftop, they only like pay $230 a month. But now PLN pay like, well, it's almost like $50 to $60 additional because they never used all the capacity that being installed. So the rest that the energy goes to PLN, and PLN have a record and then pay to that pesantren, to the Muslim school. This is the best thing also about the solar rooftop or on-grid is no battery. The grid is the storage. This is the cheapest one compared to if we have to buy the battery. Unfortunately, sometimes, or due to the very long situation, when the battery is already doesn't work anymore, we come back to the factory and they said, oh, I'm sorry, this kind of battery is already discontinued. Well, this is the problem. Okay. We have a kilowatt, we call it EXIM, export-import, This is very important one for us. I hope this is the film. Oh, this is in a high school in East Java. It's only 15.36 kilowatt peak. It's a very good because it's become laboratorium for the students also to understand how many kilowatt hours that the sun, provided electricity. And I'm sure that everybody was saying that very happy to see this. It still work. It's already almost 5 years. We are using Tabuchi electric. And this is the film, right? Is it the film working? Well, sorry. No mananggun. Oh, I have to wait, sorry. Yeah, thank you, this is the film. I hope it's like 3 or 5 minutes. Kok nggak ada ya? Okay. This is a CSR for Python energy. And, okay. Is, presenting, IBK and Python presenting. This is high school in East Java. The former school of President Director of PLN. That's why it's a very good approach and we can have this. The capacity is like 15.36 kilowatt peak on grid system. This is the laboratorium that every student can have a look. Oh, this is the laboratorium for the students to learn how the solar power. We are expecting that hopefully every school have that, so it's easy for the school children to understand. And hope in the near future in Jakarta we are going to install also, hopefully the biggest one. This is the DC rating, the AC rating. Everything was recorded very clearly. Okay, can I just skip? It's the same thing. Only this the Minister of Education at the time came to inaugurate, and everybody was happy to see this. But this is, I have to make it quick because my time is. This is also the same thing in Sumeneb, Anukoya. This is a bigger number. It's almost double, yeah. It's not double, but almost double. 30.72 kilowatt peak. The same thing. Everything is actually the same. Tabuchi also. And this is the film. This is the first pesantren. It's like boarding school for the Muslims. Very old one. Belongs to Nahdlatul Ulama.
Pesantren Anukoya merupakan salah satu pesantren tertua di Kabupaten Sumeneb.
Was
yang
built in
berdiri sejak tahun
1887. The
1887.
oldest. 1887
Tepat
when we
tanggal
started.
5 Maret 2018, pesantren ini meresmikan sebuah fasilitas
2018,
teknologi
so it's
berupa
already
pembangkit listrik
4
tenaga
years now,
surya,
this one.
sekaligus fasilitas pembelajaran energi surya dengan kapasitas 30,72 kWp on grid.
As this become a students' learning center, you see this is the differences, the cleric and that pesantren.
Nikmat dan karunia yang tak terduga ini, yaitu
This is the director from Python. Python is the largest and the biggest. I think PLN knows very well that they have IPP, right, Pak? Yeah, IPP. One of the big IPP that PLN work closely. So that's why we have a chance to ask them.
Dan insya Allah tahun depan di sini akan berdiri Institut Sains dan Teknologi.
Yeah, this is mentioning that they are going to have
Fasilitas
a
ini merupakan
Institute Science and
hasil
Technology.
dari program Corporate Social Responsible
This is
atau
corporate social
PT
responsibility.
Energy yang bekerja sama dengan IBK.
Dalam pelaksanaan CSR ini, Python menerapkan 3 sasaran utama. Pertama, pengembangan masyarakat sekitar. Kemudian beberapa program CSR.
If you want to see, this is how the Madura, yeah, a very tiny island. After you went to the, to East Java, well, they are focusing on healthcare, energy, also education.
Dan solar panel ini salah satunya. Yang ketiga
This is
adalah
green
pengembangan
energy.
masyarakat Indonesia. Melalui program yang ketiga ini kami memberikan beasiswa pada beberapa mahasiswa dari berbagai universitas di Indonesia.
Okay, well,
PLTS Anukoya merupakan PLTS pertama di Madura atau Sumeneb
it's
yang
the first
menerapkan
thing
on-grid
in
dengan
the first solar on grid.
Sistem on-grid ini
in that,
menggunakan KWH
island.
khusus yang memungkinkan untuk melakukan ekspor dan impor energi listrik dari dan ke jaringan PLN.
Tetapi
So,
juga
it's
ada
export
pembelajaran
and
di sini
import.
sehingga santri-santri Anokoya itu ketika misalnya pulang kemana-mana,
This is the district headman or
itu
bupati.
juga bisa melihat
They are really proud
baik
to
ketika
that
ada
such in a very remote
BTS
area
dimana-mana yang
there is a
bisa
solar
sudah punya pengalaman keilmuan
on
yang
grid.
ada di Anokoya.
Saat siang hari, PLTS memproduksi energi listrik dan mengirimkan kelebihan energi yang dihasilkan ke jaringan PLN atau disebut impor.
In the afternoon,
Sebaliknya pada malam hari, PLTS tidak
in the
dapat
afternoon they
memproduksi
sell it
listrik,
to the
sehingga
PLN
kebutuhan
and
listrik di pesantren diambil
at night
dari jaringan
they taking
PLN
from PLN.
atau disebut
I
ekspor.
think
PLTS dengan sistem on-grid ini mampu mengurangi
I just
tagihan
can
listrik
skip, right?
total
Because
pesantren
it's already
hingga 40%.
okay. It's reducing their
dari kebutuhan listrik yang ada di Anokoya
it's
akan dipenuhi oleh pembangkit listrik tenaga
well
surya.
40% of their
Yang sudah
needs
terpasang di
is
lantai.
actually well I think I have to skip because myself I don't like it. Okay, this is the another last one. Last one is the facility of clean water.
Yes.
It's really heartbroken to see that nowadays in Central Java there is a big you call it reservoir, and the government built that in 1984. But the people who live surrounding that environment cannot have access to clean water. That's why we are, well, somehow fighting and we ask the government that we would like to use that water. It's very hard that finally, with many effort, we can have that. So we install this 27.75 kilowatt, this one, solar panel, but this is for clean water supply and sanitation. Yeah, you see, this is the power of women. Many women are actually contributing because they are the one that fetching the water. If there is no water, the responsibility is in a woman. Lucky to be a man here. You see, all the women are really, putting their effort. But this is also the man I saw, making the pipe and everything. Floating powerhouse construction. You see, this is one, and this is how the money they have collected. Now everybody has their own clean water supply. I hope I'm not really taking so much time, this time, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you have to give applause to Bu Tri.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think everyone's happy to see your present. Thank you so much, Bu Tri. To give us some perspective, why should be local resources and community-based approach for sustainable PV. And we are happy to note your experience. I think you have a lot of experience on PV project regionally and also in Indonesia, off-grid and also on-grid PV. Thank you so much for the sharing us the experience, also some cases. Just very brief question, Bu Tri, regarding the challenge that you mentioned, capacity building. I think it should be one priority area need to be considered in order to address the challenge on PV deployment, especially in remote area. So from your experience, what actually the biggest challenge to provide capacity building in the remote area? I mean, since their capacity and also conditions of the local people, and what you want to suggest to ASEAN cooperation for capacity building specifically? Yeah, thank you, Bu. Please.
Well, thank you. The first time we installed 11 kilowatt peak was back in 1999, a long time ago, and I'm sure some of them here were not born yet. Yeah, but it's okay. I just would like to share. And you can imagine, this is in a very remote area in Sumba, for solar pumping system. We have believed that seeing is believing. How can you trying to make a capacity building to the people who actually they are illiterate at that time and lack of capacity, of course. But we sent an engineer and we called this system or model, we call it live-in concept. Up till now, the strength of IBK activities in the rural area is a live-in concept. We have to make sure that, I would like to introduce you to the two Patriot Energy alumni. Anggun, just stand up. Anggun and Noni, just stand up. Anggun has been in Papua for 1 year, Noni in NTT also. What they do is to make sure that local community has what we call it passion. Passion to build themselves. Because mostly our program is top-down. The problem with the top-down project is not sustainable because suddenly, like they see something from the helicopter, and then they build, and then, well, this is for you, and they don't know how to run and everything. The hurdle is dealing with a local culture. It's not the technology itself, because when you show them how to install, they will understand, even though they are really do not read, but they know, oh, this one, But unfortunately, the biggest issue, if in one tribes, you give it this facility, and the other tribe, you don't give it, for sure, tomorrow the other tribe will destroy this one. So what we do is, well, you are going to be patient. After this tribe will get this, if they are sustainable, then we believe. So when we believe, we will come again to give it to you. But if you destroy, it means that we're losing our trust. How come, they already broken even in a very short time? So, well, we have so many ceremony. I can understand. They call it they swear, ada yang namanya sumpah babi, baru itu. Jadi you kill the pig, and then the blood of the pig has to be put in your face, and all these things we have to follow. But this is how beautiful Indonesia, with all the diversity with the culture. But not only in Indonesia, we have an experience in barangay, Rosario and another barangay, 3 barangays in the Philippines. I remember we support the DOA, with the micro hydro, but the same thing with this. But something that I cannot solve the problem is with solar home system. I remember the donor, the Japanese, like asking, Punisang, how? We have to make sure that they understand the solar home system so the battery is not broken. Because in Indonesia, most of the battery is broken. I make a jokes because I cannot find the right answer. If this battery broken, be careful. We will chop off your hand, But this is a joke. It's not really things. And they all laughing because I'm sure that it's better for us, Pak. It's better for us to develop the people first. You can see Japan, Singapore, they're very shortage of local resources, but they're very fast growing, in economy, in social welfare and everything, because they are developing their people. Most of the ASEAN countries, usually very rich with resources, and we are busy with building the infrastructure, we forgot to build the nation. The nation or human resources play a very important role. Yeah, I hope it's answering your question.
Thank you so much for sharing the interesting. Bu Tri, thank you so much. I think we are come to the close session. We are past the time, I guess. Yeah, may we conclude? Yeah, okay. So again, I'd like to thank you for all the speakers, Mr. Imade Sandika and also Mr. Gampeng, who joined us online, and also Mr. Muhammad Dwi Pramudi and Bu Tri. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experience and perspective in the sessions. Yeah, hope to see you all again, and yeah, have a nice day. We'll get back to the MC, Ms. Guan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rio and other distinguished guest speakers for the amazing discussions and sharing regarding to the importance of cooperations in ASEAN renewable energy development. So we are now about to reach the end of our workshop today. Please warmly welcome Dr. Zulfikar Suryadi, Senior Research Analyst of ACE, to deliver the closing remarks. Dr. Zulfikar, the floor is yours now.
Test. Yeah, thank you very much, Jiang, for the excellent moderator for today's both the MOU signing and also the dissemination workshop for the solar PV study. We started today with very intriguing and also very interesting remarks from our distinguished speakers from the ACCF, from the SEDA, from Dr. Nuki from the Indonesia, and also from the ITB. And I think it provides us a lot of insights and also positivity on what would be the role of renewable, especially towards the energy transition in the region. We do believe that the cooperations between ACE and also research institutes and universities such as ITB will be very helpful. So we can provide a very good policy recommendations to our stakeholders, which are the 10 ASEAN member states, which are something that is based on the actual science, something that is based of research and also very well established studies. And then we also do the first session in which we discuss about the outlook of the renewable energy. And we also heard quite a lot from the progress of renewable energy in Malaysia, according to the Malaysia RER, from the Indonesia, and also in terms of the research from Pak Yuni on what would be the status of the energy research, what are the top energy research coming from the universities in Indonesia, Singapore, and also on the regions, noting that there are very important topics ranging from the solar, storage, and also alternative energy, including hydro, geothermal, and etc. And then We also heard from our colleagues from CREEI as well on the renewable energy potential in the region. Also relates with our study from the 7 ASEAN Energy Outlook. And then after the lunch break, we had the third session, which just finished right now. We heard quite a lot on the renewable energy cooperations. We have discussions coming from the actual players of solar, from the SEI, which explains about the very interestingly, the potential of Indonesia and also maybe ASEAN to become the key player of the supply chain of the solar PV. So maybe we can also use this opportunity so that we can link this potential in Indonesia with our dialogue partners, including colleagues from China, which are currently present. So I think it can be a very good opportunity for more discussions moving forward. And we also heard from the Chint from the China company as well that explains about their experience in the solar PV and how they plan to play a bigger role in the ASEAN, in the region. And also we heard from the PLN representing the Papua on the role of the renewable energy and interconnections. The strengthen of the grid and interconnection will be very important for renewable energy. And of course, last but not least, we heard very interesting stories from Ibu Puni on the roles of renewable energy, especially for providing energy access. Cases from Indonesia, but I do believe that these cases will be very applied as well for our partners, ASEAN member states from Philippines, from Vietnam, the CLM countries, Laos, Myanmar, and others. And I think we have a very comprehensive discussions in today. I just want to note that ASEAN as a region, we have this target of 23% of renewable energy in the primary energy supply. And we also push this APAEC as the energy blueprint that are based on the 4 pillars: the energy security, accessibility, affordability, and also sustainability. And I think we discussed all of those and what will be the role of renewable energy so we can improve the access while having the cost to be staying affordable, and at the same time securing the energy for the people in the region, and at the same time also addressing the sustainability issue. I think today's discussion would have been very fruitful for me, and I do believe it will be the same of the case for other participants, both offline and also online. So without further ado, I would like to close my remarks. Thank you very much, especially for the high-level participants attending here offline, coming from far away, from Malaysia, and also Bu Puni and Pak Adi coming from Jogja, coming from Cairo, coming from Solo. Thank you very much, and hopefully it has been a very useful session. Thank you very much. Back to our Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much for your very inspiring speech, Dr. Zulfikar. The closing remarks today also ends our successful event. So once again, on behalf of ACE, I would like to send my sincerest gratitude to all the excellencies, distinguished guest speakers, panelists, colleagues, and participants for your proactive participations. I do hope that this event would not only begin a beginning of a successful, long-lasting partnership between ACE and ITB, but it's also a chance for us to launch our latest publications on solar PV plus development in ASEAN with some very key insights that all the experts and professionals could take on and apply. And we wish you all to stay safe and healthy, and see you soon in the upcoming events and activities of ACE. Thank you so much. So for distinguished guest speakers, moderators, panelists, and participants who present in the meeting room, please remain in the meeting room for a moment, and so we can come up stage to take the big group photo.
So the good-looking gentleman can be the spotlight here, and you take the picture from that side.